In this lecture, we're going to be talking about if statements. Now, if statements are brilliant and heavily used in application development. And basically what they are is you can get this state or something within the application. If something in the application is doing this, then perform this. So if something is happening, you can make the application do something else. And the example we're going to be creating in this lecture is really good. What we're going to have is a simple UI text field. Now we're going to import text into UI text field and display that in the label. We're then going to have an additional button and label that when we press the other button, if the text in the first label equals a certain string, then the text in the second label will equal something else. It sounds a little bit confusing while explaining it, but let's set this interface up. So we're going to need a UI text field, we need a label, we're also going to need a button. Space that out there, and I'll quickly copy and paste this label. Let's get a second one in. So we're going to get this text field and we're going to enter text. We're then going to then press our done button on our keyboard and it's going to place that text we entered into this label. We're then going to press this button. Now if the text in this first label equals a certain bit of text, let's say if this one equals hello, and then this one will equal hello, how are you? But if this does not equal hello, then this will display something else, and it all works on the if statement. So what we're going to do then is create actions and outlets for these objects. So bring up our assistant editor and make sure we're on our view controller.h. And then what we're going to do then is start with our UI text field. So we're going to drag and drop that in. We're going to create an outlet. We simply call it text field. Add that in. We'll do our two labels as well. We'll start with all the outlets. So label 1. Label 2. We'll add an action for our text field to dismiss the keyboard, making sure the event is on editing did end and change that to did end on exit. Name, I'll simply name it dismiss. Cool. Keyboard. There we go. Connect that up and then create an action for our button. We call this the if button, making sure that it's on action and that the event is touch up inside. Okay then, so we've got that all set up. Let's close the assistant editor. There's one more thing we need to do, and that is by selecting our keyboard, our text field, and going to our return key and selecting that to done. There we go. This will bring up the done button on our keyboard, allowing us to dismiss it, but we're also going to program it to dismiss manually. Okay, so within our view controller.m, we're going to get our dismiss keyboard, and what this is going to do, this action, is simply going to get our text from our text field and place it within our label, or our first label, which we called it label 1. So we do self.label1.text. The text in that is going to simply equal our self.textfield.text, and that is a semicolon. So we set that up to display that text we've inputted into our first label. We're also then going to bracket self resign first responder. This will dismiss the keyboard. We've already covered this in one of our previous lectures on dismissing the keyboard. So we've got that all set up. So if I quickly build and run just to test that out and make sure that it is working. So I can simply write in hello, press our done button, and then it displays that text into our first label. So we know that works, which is great. So we're going to get this button. If, when we press it, if something equals what we want it to in here, then change this. So how we do this then is I just space this out in our if button. We're going to set it to if, in the condition here, do 2 brackets in between, and we do self.label1.text. So if the text in label 1 is equal to string, let's say hello, then in our statements here we're going to have self.label2.text is then going to equal, a semicolon there, how are you? Okay, So if we go to build and run, so reading back on again, if our first label equals the word hello, then when we press our second button, our second label will equal hello, how are you? So if I put hello, or let's change it first. If I put a load of gobbledygook in, press done, now it does not equal hello. So if I press the button, nothing's happening. But if I change it to write hello, and press our done button, and press that button, it now comes up saying, how are you? And that's all because we created this if statement to say, if it equaled this, then perform this action in between the two brackets. Now, as you've seen then, it did nothing when the button didn't equal it. But we can also create an action for if that statement doesn't work. So if it equals hello, do this, else, create a bracket again, else, I'm going to copy and paste this to save a bit of time. Else, we can have this to simply say, go away. So if it equals hello, it's going to say, how are you? Else, if it does not equal hello, it's going to say, go away. Nice and simple. So we go to build and run. And we can put a load of gobbledygook in again and press our button. And as it equals label at the minute, we can place it again. It's always going to say go away because it does not equal hello. But as soon as you write out hello, press done, press our button, it says, how are you? So basing off this if statement, you could create like a little miniature game like a pickup line generator or a chatting up to girls, because you have to say the right thing to further on in the game. But that's simply how you would use if statements and how they can be used. They don't just limit themselves to labels or stuff like that, or certain bits of string. You can also go off the state of an object. As in the next coming lectures, we talk about enabling, disabling, hiding, and kind of fading out objects. You can say, if the state of this button equals this, then perform this action. It's a way, and a brilliant way of, putting content in your application. For example, games. If level 1 is complete, then unlock level 2. Stuff like that. It's a very basic feature and it's heavily used in application development. So this was simply how to explain and how to use if statements in your applications and kind of take the state of an object and perform something else. In the next coming lectures, we're going to be combining a few of the things we've previously learned, such as NS timers and if statements, and creating a reaction game.